Hello and welcome to episode 88 of This Week in Germany. We'll be bringing the world to Germany and Germany to the world with news for the week beginning the 7th of September 2015. My name's Daniel.
And my name's Rob. Each week we feature stories from the news, society, and culture in the English language. If you want to find out more, including ways to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, head over to our website, thisweekingermany.de.
So let's get started with episode 88, and a little later on we have something on Saxony's new image. Maybe you could give us a taster of that, Rob. What kind of new image are they going for, or what are they trying to avoid at least?
Well, they kind of had this, they're kind of known right now for, this is where Pegida hangs out, or, this is where some sort of refugee house is being burned down. What's
Pegida, for those who are not caught up?
It is a group that is pretty much, that does not want, it's an anti-Islam in Germany group.
Yes, I think we heard a little about it last week from Frank Jordans. They're some kind of people who are protesting against immigrants and the Islamization of the West, as they call it. What are you going to do? This sounds
But Saxony wants to distance themselves from that because they want to say just because that happens in our state doesn't mean that that is what we stand for. So they're coming up with like a new logo and new symbols and things like that. And it looks pretty neat.
Is it like a big love heart with hugging arms coming out the side?
Similar to that.
Well, I guess you'll get into that in more detail a little later. What else do we have coming up on the podcast today?
We want to tell you about Helmut Schmidt and how he got rushed to intensive care this last week and what's going on with him.
And who's Helmut Schmidt, for those who don't know?
An ex-chancellor of Germany.
Okay. All right. Yes, he's in intensive care, and it's been all over the news, and so we'll get the update on that. Also, a while ago we talked about a Palestinian girl who lives in Germany who Angela Merkel accidentally made cry in a conversation, a kind of a town hall debate or whatever it was that she was having. And we have an update on her situation, which is very nice. Anything else that we have coming up?
We're going to talk about how the German military is having a little bit of problems with some gun order that they placed. And also we're going to talk about a study that was showing how retirement is good for people.
Oh, really? Retirement, yes. Sitting out in the sun doing nothing all day. I mean, it must be good for you, right? Get rested. Though, I mean, I'd be worried about getting bored.
That's the kind of controversy about it, because a lot of people think, once you retire, you don't have that same drive of to live for. But this new study says different. And our destination Germany this week is? We're going to the city of Stuttgart, and we're going to the Birkenkopf mountain or hill. I'll tell you about it.
Okay. Yes. We'll find out about that soon.
So let's get started with story number 1.
Last week, we spoke about the tension surrounding how anti-immigrant riots had hit a town near Dresden. In fact, attacks are on the rise as the number of refugees rises. Well, this week, an influx of migrants arriving via the Balkans provoked Europe to think. The shocking conditions and their desperation has made EU leaders more vociferous in their calls for help, or even placing the blame on the migrants themselves and other countries. With more, freelance journalist based in Berlin, Melanie Hall, joins me now. So, Melanie, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast, and maybe you could start off by giving us the details on what is happening and where.
Yeah, so as you say, last week we've seen chaotic scenes from Hungary in Budapest in the central station. There were tons of migrants that we could see them sleeping on train floors. They were very hungry, and there was this chaotic scenes. And so then on Saturday, Hungary took the decision to it relented rather than it decided against keeping the refugees penned in Hungary, and it decided to then put on buses and send them through to the Austrian border. So that's what happened. So then we've seen thousands upon thousands of migrants coming on buses, coming through Austria, and the vast majority of them want to come through to Germany. So over the course of the weekend then, a total of what's been estimated at 17,000 refugees have been coming through to Germany's borders. And in stark contrast to what we've seen in Hungary, the setup in Germany has been very efficient. We've seen refugees coming in and then coming into Munich Central Station, and then from there they're being distributed to other cities, other states across Germany. And we're seeing them being registered here, and then they're having medical checks, and the response has been really heartwarming. You have loads of people turning out at the stations, welcoming the refugees, handing out sweets and goodies and toys. And as someone said, we're seeing the bright side of Germany in comparison to the attacks on refugee homes across Germany. We're seeing the positive side, the side which Germany actually wants to protect, and there's been wonderful scenes. And with the migrants on the buses and on the trains, they're actually being very well fed. It got to the point where some of the locals in Munich Central Station that I spoke to, they were there with treats to hand out to the refugees, and some police said they actually encouraged the people with the goodies to actually deposit them at care centres further down the station, because they said they've eaten so much on the train, so just not hungry actually. So that was quite sort of surprising to hear that they're getting so much food that there were bags of sweets left over on the trains. So altogether, the response has been pretty good and pretty impressive, I would say, from Germany.
Though I noticed at some point during the week there were pictures which came out of a boat which had capsized, and there was a family on board where the mother and child drowned, and there were photos across the front pages all across Europe of newspapers showing the body of this 3-year-old child. And that, along with the scenes of the migrants who came through the Balkans, had really provoked a reaction throughout Europe from many political leaders. So how has Europe reacted?
I think, as you say, this image, it has really made leaders and people all across Europe really sit up and pay attention in the way they might not have maybe previously done before. The UK, which has an opt-out from taking in refugees, and has been heavily criticised by European leaders for being unwilling to shoulder their share of the responsibility. David Cameron has this weekend said that the UK is actually prepared to take in thousands of Syrian refugees. He hasn't put a precise number on that yet, and there's not many details, but it is striking that in days after this image emerged, the UK has changed its stance on this.
So I believe that the UK is only going to take them directly from refugee camps, so no migrants who are already in Europe. And so far, the record has been pretty shocking. I mean, Britain has taken in, I believe, less than 200 through this method, and Germany has taken in over 800,000 refugees. So it is pretty shocking. And also, I believe from Eastern European countries, there was also quite strong reactions. I think was it Viktor Orban who said that this refugee crisis is a German problem?
Yes, it is pretty surprising when he said that. Yes, he said most of the migrants want to head to Germany anyway, so therefore it is, as you say, Germany's problem. And other countries in Eastern Europe, particularly Slovakia, they said a week or so ago that they would only accept Christian immigrants because Muslim migrants wouldn't feel at home there because there's no Muslim mosques there. So yes, I think the political pressure has just grown to such a point that seemingly political leaders seem to be bowing more to the pressure to take on more refugees. But we'll see. I mean, this Wednesday there's due to be an EU Commission meeting, and we'll see whether how much of the rhetoric which has been coming out in the past few days, how much of that actually materialises into countries actually taking on more refugees than they have previously pledged.
So what are the prospects looking like in the future? So you mentioned that there are plans to Well, there are plans to make plans, if we put it that way. Europe needs to have some kind of policy formulated to make sure that these refugees are treated with dignity and getting the help that they need. I think most of the leaders are united on the idea that this is a humanitarian tragedy which needs to be dealt with one way or another. So where does Europe go from here? And what are the ideas, which will hopefully become definitive plans, to ensure that everyone gets the help that they need, if that is what European leaders are planning?
Well, to say that the meeting this Wednesday, Jean-Claude Juncker, the European Commission President, is hoping to unveil what's being touted as the EU's most ambitious effort to date to deal with the refugee influx. According to plans being touted by officials, Mr. Juncker's vowing to be ambitious, but there's no concrete ideas yet on what will be unveiled, but it sounds like more countries will be then expected to take on thousands more refugees than they have previously either volunteered to take on. So we'll see where it goes from there, but it's hard to say yet because there's still so much political opposition. Obviously, as we've said, some of this opposition has been melting, particularly in light of this very striking, poignant image emerging. But opposition is still very strong. So it is hard to say. But on Sunday evening, there's due to be coalition talks with the German government. Plans being touted are to cut red tape to facilitate the building of more refugee homes. So that is one of the measures taking place in Germany, at least, to help ease the refugee crisis. But it is still hard to say which way things will go in terms of whether countries will take on more refugees, how much willingly, unwillingly. So it's hard to say at this stage, I would say.
Well, let's just hope that European leaders show some humanitarian solidarity with these people and that they show a united front and that we get some policies in place to help these people. So, yes, thank you very much, freelance journalist Melanie Hall, based in Berlin. Thank you very much for joining me here on the podcast. Okay, moving on now. Rob has your week's news in brief.
Early this past week, ex-German Chancellor Helmut Schmidt was taken to the hospital after he suffered a vascular obstruction in his right leg. Schmidt is 96 years old, and this past Tuesday, his doctor ordered him to go immediately to the hospital for care. He, the doctor, said that this blockage in the vein was very serious. He received an operation on Wednesday in Hamburg, and the surgeons are calling it a success. Proper blood circulation has been restored to his leg. Schmidt was the German Chancellor between 1974 and 1982, and is known for always smoking while giving interviews. Now it was said he was not allowed to smoke at all while he was in the intensive care ward. It was big news last month when reports came in about Angela Merkel, Germany's Chancellor, making a small Palestinian girl cry when speaking to her in Rostock about those seeking asylum in Germany and how not everyone could be accepted. Now, the Rostock City Hall has released a statement that this girl and her family have received residency permits for the case under humanitarian reasons. These permits will allow her and her family to stay in Germany until at least March of 2016. The mayor's deputy of Rostock, Chris Müller, has called this an example of successful integration into the city, though the office could not clarify what will happen after this permit expires. A new study has just been released and presented at the Annual Congress of European Economic Associations in Mannheim, Germany, that presents a different set of findings against the popular belief that people, after they retire, that their health starts to diminish. The study was made on Germans who retired between the years of 1994 and 2012. It concluded that after people retire, their health actually improves. Reasons for this are that they have more time to exercise, sleep longer, and have less work-related stress. The report also says that after retiring, people are more likely to rate their physical and mental health better. Also, they visit their doctors less and get, on average, 40 more minutes of sleep a night. Overall, the research found that retirees pursue a more active lifestyle. While they spend about an hour longer on their hobbies, they also spend more time on repairs, gardening, running errands, and caring for their grandchildren. The Bundeswehr, Germany's military, is facing more problems when it comes to ordering new weapons. The manufacturer is, again, the huge arms seller Heckler & Koch. Earlier this year, the military was forced to announce that one of its new guns, the HK G36 rifle, was unfit for combat because it stopped being accurate when the gun heated up from use. Over 170,000 of these guns were ordered for the military, and they are still trying to evaluate the best course of action, if these guns will be remodeled or have to be replaced entirely. Now, another bump in the road with a new order of weapons coming from Heckler & Koch. The gun in question is the MG5 machine gun with a hefty price tag of over 200 million euros for 12,744 units. These guns were expected to start shipping over 2 months ago, but now it is announced they will not be ready until sometime in 2016. The state of Saxony is looking to try and rebrand its image with a new logo and slogan. That slogan will be Simply Saxony. Not too long ago, in 2013, the Saxon government launched a campaign worth millions trying to promote their city and state. Cities like Leipzig and Dresden have a great deal of culture and history, which has the potential to bring a lot of visitors and a lot of tourist money. Unfortunately, because of xenophobic protests from the group Pegida being strongly associated with this East German state, as well as violent anti-asylum seeker rallies, Saxony feels that they need to work on another image campaign. They want to show people that they have more to offer than xenophobia and racism. Tourist reports are showing that overnight stays have been declining since the beginning of 2015, and many hotels receive cancellation notices directly because of groups in Dresden like Pegida.
Now moving on to story 2. Once again, Germany became the centre of every gadget fan's attention as the annual IFA conference is taking place in the nation's capital until Wednesday. This year, the event is organised under the motto Innovation Meets Industry and is seeing all the usual products on display, bigger screens with higher pixel density, the latest mobile phones and more newer inventions such as smartwatches and drones. You'd be forgiven for thinking the show was a modern invention, seeing as our lives now are more filled with tech than ever before, but IFA started as a radio exhibition 90 years ago. But getting back to these days, Motorola showed off some new models of its 360 smartwatch. Chinese manufacturer Huawei also launched its first smartwatch at the 6-day event. As smartwatches improve in their design and utility, analysts expect 40 million to be sold this year, compared to just 5 million last year. Many companies had big TVs to display. Panasonic unveiled a 65-inch 4K OLED TV, and Samsung had several 4K TVs, including curved versions. I still personally don't understand why they keep selling these curved TVs. Does anyone buy them? In computing, Intel launched its 6th generation of CPU chips. There were 1,600 exhibitors this year. The reason why so many companies come to Berlin to show off their products is that over $5 billion worth of orders are placed at IFA. Perhaps the only major consumer tech maker not at IFA is Apple, which almost exclusively launches products at its own events. But 2 trends exhibited at IFA show the direction of travel for new consumer technology: the Internet of Things and virtual reality. Our home appliances are becoming more and more connected to our smartphone apps and websites as we seek to control and automate all our household functions. And with more and more manufacturers creating their own virtual reality headsets, soon games will catch up with widely available immersive environments for gamers to explore. At IFA, the future is on display, and if you've saved up all your money, maybe soon these gadgets will be in your home, in your pocket, or even on your wrist.
And coming up right now is, boom, Destination Germany, where we're going to take you on a journey.
There's an explosion in the studio. I didn't know.
We're going to take you on a journey somewhere in the country that we think is well worth a visit, whether you're a permanent resident or someone just visiting Germany. We're going to take you to those famous sites as well as the little-known corners of Deutschland. And what really matters is showing you that Germany is a super exciting and cool place to visit. If you enjoyed the destinations that we talk about each week, go to our website, thisweekingermany.de, and we'll have photos of each week's destination.
So, Rob, are you a petrol head? Are you a car fan?
Yeah, I like cars. I think they're pretty cool.
Yes, well, I mean, Germany's world famous for its engineering, right? And
I know, it's pretty cool to see all of them all over the road. Like, you look here, look there, like, oh, there's a cool Mercedes. There's a cool BMW.
Yes, well, speaking of BMW, last week's destination, we went to the city of Munich to visit the world headquarters of BMW and also to see their museum located nearby. BMW is one of the companies which comes out of Germany that everyone can't help but think of when they think about the country. When they think about German engineering, when they think about cars, BMW is one of those main companies that they always think about. So they've made some beautiful automobiles and quality innovations in their field over the years. So if you'd like to see some amazing cars, then head down to Munich to check out the tours at the BMW World. And also, all of the photos are on our website as every single week, thisweekingermany.de. But back on the road again, as they say. Where is our German destination this week, Rob?
We're going to be staying in the south of Germany, but we're going to be going a few hours west from the last destination, which was in Munich. And we're going to the southern city of Stuttgart. And I want to take you out of the museums this week and into the open air and so get a nice scenic getaway. Some place with some rich history, and it's somewhere that you really only need a couple hours for, so you don't need to spend like an entire weekend to visit this destination. We're going to be climbing to the top of a hill called the Birkenkopf, and it's a large hill that overlooks Stuttgart.
Oh, great. We're going to a hill. Thanks, Rob. I mean, when you said Birkenkopf, I thought, okay, this sounds a bit quirky and different, but it's a hill. Thanks, Rob. Thank you.
Okay, hill might be short-selling it a little bit. So it's not like a gigantic mountain like one of those ones that you're going to find if you go a little bit further south, but it is rather tall. The Birkenkopf is the highest point in Stuttgart, and it stands at 511 meters, and that's about 1,700 feet, for those of you not doing the metric thing. And from there, you get a pretty great view of the entire city, and on clear nights, it's just wonderful to see Stuttgart completely lit up.
Okay, so other than the hill being a great vantage point, taking a view of Stuttgart, what else makes the Birkenkopf something remarkable enough that people are going to take that effort to make the trek to the top?
So, as I was saying, that it does have some pretty great historical significance as well. What if I were to tell you that this hill was not quite as tall as it is today, as it was, or it's not quite as tall 60 years ago as it is today?
Well, does it have something to do with the Second World War? Did it radically change the landscape? Though maybe that would be 70 years. I don't know. How is that? What is it?
Okay, yeah, that is an excellent guess, and you are correct. During the Second World War, Stuttgart was a major industrial base and supply center. So, needless to say, it was pretty much destroyed during the bombing attacks during the 40s, and the city was pretty much just reduced to rubble.
Okay, so Stuttgart had a pretty rough time during the Second World War. Did the bombing of the city blow a crater so large that the hills surrounding the city get larger? How did that work?
Not exactly. The city was blown apart and the buildings did come down. And when it was time to start the cleanup, then all the debris had to go somewhere and it was hauled off to this hill, the Birkenkopf. It's located on the west side of the city, and now that the hill is about 40 meters taller because they just piled all this debris up on top of it.
That must have been a lot of rubble then.
It's calculated that it's about 1.5 million cubic meters of debris is in this area now, and the hill is locally called Rubble Mountain or Mount Rubble, or also Monte Scherbellino. It's in Italian, so it means Mount Shards.
Why is it in Italian?
I don't know. You just got the nickname. It got the nickname and it stuck.
Monte Scherbellino. So yeah, 70 years ago. Wow. That's pretty amazing. Is this place just a huge pile of broken stone and leftover rubbish? I mean, it doesn't seem very safe to climb.
Most of the hill has been landscaped, so it's covered with dirt and grass, but there's a memorial kind of like at the top of the mountain. And so if you go up there, then you can see a lot of the old fragments from the old buildings that had been destroyed. And one of the pieces has this plaque attached to it that says in German, "This mountain was piled up after the Second World War from the rubble of the city, and it stands as a memorial to the victims and a warning to those of the living." I would say that's a pretty powerful message about how destructive and devastating war can be and its lasting consequences.
Yeah, I think that would really help to drive the point home if you walk up the mountain of rubble and then see that plaque at the top.
Definitely. And also at the summit, some of the mounds of debris, they formed into a rustic-looking amphitheater. And at the bottom of the amphitheater, there is a huge brown steel cross that's about 20 feet high and pretty much looms over the city. So you can see it you can see it from the city below. And from up there on clear days, other than Stuttgart, visitors going hiking up there can see the Schwabian Alp, as well as the Black Forest and the lowlands of Württemberg.
Wow, so they can see far and wide from the top of that hill. So it is more than just a hill. It is kind of a cultural and historical monument as well. And so one of the things that I always love doing when I visit new cities is to go to a vantage point to really get an idea and an overview of what the city really is, what it really looks like. Because it's difficult to tell. It's difficult to get an overview from when you're in the middle of that city. And the Birkenkopf sounds just like one of those places where you can do that. So if you want to check out what this place looks like, we invite you to go to our website, thisweekingermany.de, where we have photos of each week's destination. But now we're going over to our German of the Week feature, where we put the spotlight on a prominent person from this week's news, a German citizen, or even a foreigner who we deem an honorary German, who's had an effect, for better or worse, on German culture, society, or politics.
The person we are spotlighting in our German of the Week section is the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. He is here not because of any heroic or humanitarian achievements, but rather the opposite. Orban has constantly taken a hard line against the migrant crisis, engulfing both Germany and much of Europe. He has been refusing to accept any EU plan for compulsory quotas for asylum seekers, and has now even put up razor wire fencing along Hungary's border with Serbia. At a press conference this past week, Orban was quoted saying that, "The problem is not a European problem. The problem is a German problem." He said that because EU created regulation that all immigrants who are leaving Hungary must be registered. He said, "If the German Chancellor insists that we register them, we will." Following the meeting with Martin Schulz, the President of the EU Parliament, on Thursday, Prime Minister Orban urged people fleeing from places like Syria and Iraq not to come to his or any other European Union country. And so ends episode number 88 this week.
That's right. Thank you to Telegraph journalist Melanie Hall for speaking to us earlier in the podcast. If you'd like to get more of her writing on Germany, check out her Twitter feed. That's at Melanie Hall.
Also, we'd like to invite you to go to our website, thisweekingermany.de, and we'll have some extra content there lots of times, and we also have links there for our social media like Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, stuff like that.
Yes, there are plenty of links on there to keep you busy, and you can go through our entire archive of episodes. We're at 88 episodes now, and we have some special episode planned for our 100th, which is not far away now. So, check out the website to keep up to date with all of those crazy plans. This Week in Germany is produced by me, Daniel Winter. It is written and presented by myself and Rob Bishop. Rob, would you like to finish us off for this week?
We'd like to thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back in just 7 days with more This Week in Germany.